Hello everyone, my name is Dylan and welcome to a very special video. If you are new here, hi there, I post fun and entertaining English lessons every single Friday. So today I'll be telling you everything that you need to know about the culture in the UK. Let me explain. A couple of weeks ago, I made a post on my Instagram and YouTube community page asking you guys to give me some random questions about the UK that you would like me to answer. And in this video, I'm going to be answering some of those questions. Now, we did get quite a lot, so if I don't answer your question in this video, in the next one, I will answer it, don't worry. Anyway, today you can expect to learn how we celebrate birthdays in the UK, how to avoid getting robbed in London, the weird thing we all do on Sundays, what to do if you get into a fight, what autumn is like, the British approach to asking personal questions, and much more. So this video will not only be good for helping you to improve your listening, reading and pronunciation skills, but I'm also going to be teaching you some of the everyday expressions and vocabulary that I used whilst I was waffling on. So when you see something pop up on the screen, that means that it will be explained at the end of the video in a free PDF and the link is in the top comment. Finally, if you would like to listen on the go, why not follow my Spotify where I post weekly videos. And if you have any other questions you would like me to answer, please just message my Instagram. The Instagram is British Education _, the Spotify is just British Education, and all of the links will be in the top comment. Right guys, let's do this. Very quickly before we get started, every Tuesday I send out a completely free newsletter containing a short, funny English lesson about my life. So I've told stories about the time I was attacked by an elephant, met a cute cat, tried yoga, and much more. As soon as you sign up, you will also receive an exclusive bonus video sent right to your inbox, and it's actually a good video as well. The link is in the top comment. Cheers. Okay, question number 1. Hi Dylan, will I get robbed in London? Thanks. So we're starting on a cheery note here. Brilliant. Will you get robbed in London? Yeah, you probably will, to be honest. It is part of the experience though, so, you know. No, I'm just joking guys, don't worry. You are, dare I say, very unlikely to get robbed in London or anywhere in the UK as long as you are careful. And that's it really guys, like millions of people visit London every single year and only a very, very small percentage of them actually have any problems. It's full of tourists, it's extremely multicultural, so don't worry. But as mentioned, you do need to be careful. So my tip is, in true British fashion, just assume the worst. Assume that everyone you see is trying to rob you, which they're not, of course, but it means that you will be more protective of your belongings. And by the way, guys, as always, throughout this video, we do have quite a few funny / cute comics. So if you want to have a look at those, feel free to pause the video, have a quick laugh and move on. But if you don't care, then just stay with me. Okay, I've made up a couple of examples of the type of mindset you need to have just to ensure that you don't get robbed in London. For example, situation 1, train troubles. Say you are on a train on your laptop, this is you, and then you need to leave your seat for whatever reason. Perhaps you need to go to the toilet, you need to get some food or take a phone call. If there is a stop coming up, I would advise you to get back to your belongings before that stop. This is just to prevent any opportunistic thieves from taking your stuff and getting off at that stop. So I've made a little diagram here just to make it very clear. I think this is why the video is late, to be honest. I waste so much time on these little diagrams, but you know, they're fun to make and they help to drive the point home. So this is you getting on the train. You get on, you sit down, and then you take your laptop out. Perhaps you're doing some work, or perhaps you're just watching a bit of British education, you know, just normal things. You then decide to go to the bathroom. I would advise you to get back to your seat and your laptop before this next stop, or else there is a chance that someone might get on at this stop as well, see your laptop, see you leave, see your unattended laptop, take it in their bag and then get off at this stop. And by the time you get back from the toilet, it's too late. It's too late, guys. So is this likely to happen? I'll tell you in a minute. Situation number 2, cafe conundrums. So say you are in a cafe and you go up to the counter to pick up your oat milk latte inspired by moi. or to visit the bathroom, don't leave your phone on the table. Or else, someone might nick it and run out. And nick is just a British way of saying to steal something. So here, this is the type of thing you should not be doing. And this is certainly the type of thing you should not be doing. This person has left their phone, their laptop, their glasses, and even their coffee out on the table. So am I advising you to bring your coffee with you to the bathroom? Probably not. But this stuff, yeah, I would do. Or else you might come back, they've stole your phone, they've stole your laptop, they've stole your glasses, and if you're really unlucky, they will have drunk your coffee as well. Anyway, in both of these examples, by the way, even if you did leave your phone or your laptop on your table, you'd probably be fine. You'd probably be fine, to be honest. I don't want to worry you guys. Trust me, the majority of the people in the UK are nice, decent people who will not rob you. And they don't even have to be nice, they just have to be decent enough not to rob you, which I think they are. The reason I'm telling you this is because I would rather you guys be overly cautious. This way, it means that you don't even give anyone the opportunity to try and rob you. And this may be a shock because in some countries like Korea or Japan, you could literally take out your life savings and cash, walk into the closest cafe and just dump it all on the table, along with your phone, your laptop, watch, and a big red sign that says, "Please rob me." Leave for an hour, and everything would still be there when you get back. If you're in Japan, you'd probably even come back to find this on top of it as well. That's not a racist joke, guys. It's a 7-Eleven joke, right? Don't worry. Right, another recent real-life example I wanted to give is this. A friend of mine who was visiting London, they aren't from the UK, they were on their phone at the side of the road waiting for their Uber. This is when someone went by on a scooter and just snatched the phone from their hands. Now, I'm not going to lie, this was just very unlucky, but it does show you the level of caution you need to exercise just to ensure that you don't have any problems. But for the third time, guys, I don't want to put you off visiting here. This is all very unlikely to happen. Just be careful. Be overly careful. So I've lived in the UK for over 20 years. I've never been robbed. My friends who are from various parts of the UK have never been robbed. My friends who have visited the UK from another country have never been robbed, apart from that one guy. So I think that you will be fine. I don't think you need to start walking around with your backpack like this, for example. It's not that bad. You do see some people doing this, but those are obviously the people that haven't watched this brilliant video, so you don't have to be one of them. Don't worry. Question number 2. Can you ask personal questions, or should we not ask someone these in UK? Like salary, weight, age. In my country, Turkey, asking age is not bad, and this is a good question. Now let's start with the salary. So you probably shouldn't ask anyone their salary. This is considered quite rude, and it goes against our, British societal norms. Now, with the weight, asking someone's weight is a tricky one. I'd say this is unusual, but it should be fine unless you think the other person may not be happy to answer this. So say if you meet some fitness freak who's at the gym 8 days a week and trains like crazy and is in immaculate shape, they probably want you to ask them their weight. They'll probably tell you their weight, their body mass index, their muscle to fat ratio, that type of thing. But I think for most people, realistically, when do you actually need to know someone's weight? Like, unless you're a boxing coach training your fighter, you probably don't need this information. So maybe just play it safe, actually, and don't ask, okay? By the way, there are quite a few Simpsons references in this video. No particular reason why, just I feel like they brighten up the video a little bit. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Age. It's pretty much always going to be okay to ask a man his age, in my opinion, but it's often considered rude to ask how old a woman is. That is unless she looks young, in which case, yeah, that's fine, because I don't think anyone gets offended by telling someone they're in their 20s. But if it's an older woman, maybe don't ask unless you really need to. Of course, there are a few exceptions to this rule. Say if you're dating someone, you should always know how old they are, whether they are male, female, or anything in between. And this is regardless of how old they look. This is essential information that you need to know. As mentioned in last week's video, a full guide to dating in the UK, you should definitely check that out after this if you haven't. The link is in the top comment. Age gaps in relationships are important in the UK. So do not be shy asking your partner how old they are. You have the right to know, and do not let them tell you otherwise. None of this, oh, in British culture, it's rude to ask someone's age, blah, 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 blah. You need to know. You need to know. So in the UK, to confirm, salary, no, don't ask, seems rude. Weight, probably not, plus when do you actually need to know this, and sounds rude. Age, if they're in their 20s or if you are dating them, then yes, that is absolutely fine. If it's just an acquaintance who looks a bit older, especially a woman, I would avoid asking. Question number 3. How do you cross the road in the UK? And this is such a good question. I love this question because it's one of those random small pieces of information about a country that no one tells you, but you actually need to know the second you get there. So if you are living in the UK or you have lived in the UK, I'm assuming that you guys already know the answer to this. I hope you've worked out how to cross the road, or else your experience might be a bit one-sided. So feel free to move on to the next question if you would like to. But honestly, there are quite a few funny jokes in this question as well, and you might learn something. So, why not stick with us? Why not? Right, so the first thing you need to know is that our roads don't tend to be that wide. They're normally like this. So if you're really good at jumping, you could probably just jump over them anyway, and you don't even need to worry about the cars. Anyway, that's really good because it makes crossing less daunting and just easier in general. So there are 3 main methods of crossing the road in the UK, and yes, this is how detailed this video is going to be. Method 1, pelican crossings. Now this is the most common method, and you basically just press this button here, which can be found on this box, normally underneath traffic lights. And yes, just so you know, most of the time you do actually need to press the button. So it's not just for blind people like it is in some countries where you press it and then it makes the little jingle sound and it's time for you to cross the road. You need to press it or else nothing's going to happen and you might be waiting there for a while. How long will you be waiting there? I hear you ask. Well, to be precise, you'll be waiting there until someone else who also wants to cross the road walks over, notices that you haven't pressed the button for some unknown reason, gives you this type of look, then presses the button for you like you're their child. You then have to wait next to this stranger in shame and silence, all because you didn't follow the information in this guide. So, yeah guys, press the button. Anyway, once you've done this, after about 20 seconds or so, or probably sooner, the green man will appear and you can go. And it's honestly that simple. Okay, but let's say it's a red man. Can you still cross? Surely not, right? Well, actually, yes, absolutely, you can. If there are no cars in sight, and this is a very important caveat, there has to be no cars in sight, or you have to be far away from a car. Okay, let me explain. Even if it is a red man, if we don't think we're going to get run over, so the key word is don't, British people just go. We don't have time to wait for it to turn green. We have stuff to do, and whilst we love queuing, this obviously seems to be an exception. So if there are no cars in sight, or if there is a car but it's pretty far away, pretty much if you think you can cross the road without, once again the important word, without getting run over, just do it, regardless of whether it's a green man or not. But be careful, please be careful, don't get run over. You're going to make me do this? Alright, I've got to do this then. Alright. Official disclaimer. The information provided by British Education, including but not limited to any content related to road safety and crossing streets, is intended for entertainment purposes only. We do not advocate or endorse any actions that may contravene local traffic laws or regulations, including crossing the road during unsafe conditions. By following any advice or suggestions provided in the material, you acknowledge you are solely responsible for your actions for assessing the risks associated with road safety. British Education shall not be held reliable for any injury, damage, or loss, including but not limited to being stopped by visitors as a result of any unsafe behaviour. Always exercise caution, follow legal road safety guidelines, and use your judgment on crossing streets. Right. You can show that to your lawyers if you get hit by a car. And if you're not American, then you probably don't have any lawyers, in which case, just don't get run over. Yeah. Anyway, that is the classic traffic light method. Number 2, zebra crossings. So, we have these things called zebra crossings, which are a road crosser's best mate. The reason they're called zebra crossings is because of these black and white lines, which of course resemble a zebra. And there's a little funny comic for you guys right here. Feel free to pause and have a quick laugh. Anyway, if you see these things, you are allowed to go, whether there are cars there or not. And of course, this means that when you are driving, when you see these things, if there are people there, then you need to stop, or else those two rules kind of contradict each other, and we don't want that to happen. So, to confirm, you do not need to wait at a zebra crossing. However, it is worth mentioning that we do unfortunately have some, excuse my French, knobhead drivers that won't stop at these zebra crossings even if there are people waiting. These drivers can normally be identified by their ridiculously loud, obnoxious and fluorescent cars, which are definitely not, I repeat, definitely not, compensating for anything. I promise. By the way, these cars are kind of like the UK equivalent of American monster trucks. They don't have the same size, but they make up for it with the very loud sounds and fumes that they leave behind. And with these American monster trucks, these owners are also definitely not, I repeat, definitely not compensating for anything. Once again, I promise. So, if a car looks like it isn't slowing down, just play it safe and wait for this loser to go about his pointless life. And yes, I have said his. I have assumed this driver's gender because realistically, it's pretty much always going to be a man driving this and doing that type of stuff, I'm going to be honest. Anyway, this is very rare. I've only seen it happen once in my life. Most drivers are considerate and actually, follow the law. So don't worry too much about this, but it is just something to bear in mind. Official disclaimer. The information provided by British... I'm joking, guys. I'm joking. Right then, method number 3, common sense. So sometimes you will need to cross the road without the assistance of either of these things. So this may happen in circumstances where it just makes sense. So say you're here by this tree and you need to get to this tree for whatever reason. Realistically, you're not going to go all the way up there to try and find a zebra crossing or a pelican crossing. Unless you are an extremely law-abiding citizen, it just isn't really going to happen. And rightfully so. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Here, you would just cross the street, right? Another example might be, say you are in a rural area that doesn't have these high-tech facilities. You're going to just need to cross the street. And in these instances, guys, you just need to use your common sense. So, yeah. Good luck. Question number 4. Hi Dylan, have you ever wondered that Spider-Man or Doctor Strange or maybe Sherlock Holmes are real? Hi there. No, I haven't. Question number 5. What are birthdays like in the UK? And this is such a nice question. So, firstly, in the UK, what you need to know, I don't know if it's like this in your country as well, but it's actually someone's birthday every day of the year. Genuinely. So like even on the most random days. So for instance, in the UK, March the 2nd is someone's birthday. Which is just random, right? It's crazy. Or like December the 15th. It's like, what's the point of your birthday being on December the 15th? Like Christmas is right around the corner, mate. Just wait. Just wait. You're not going to get extra presents, bro. Just wait. And you're not going to believe this. In the UK, right, there's someone out there born on August the 4th. I don't know them, but I've heard. That's mental. That's such a random day. Anyway. When it is our special day, what do people in the UK do to celebrate? Well, this normally just depends on your life, your age, your location, and how many friends you have. The small things. Anyway, say if you're a kid between the ages of 5 and 12, you may have a party at somewhere like this or this and invite your classmates. And by the way, when you did have one of these parties, it was like mandatory for every guest to bring you a present. It wasn't actually written on the invitation, but it may as well have been. So, this is a bowling alley. This was a pretty popular destination back in the day, but it absolutely pales in comparison to this place. A place like this, which is an indoor fun park, I think they're called. And trust me, these places were crazy. So they have like all these different slides. They have like trampolines. They have ball pits. Oh, they used to have this thing. It was so weird. It was like a spider web and they had like 4 different layers, and I'll try and get a photo on the screen. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but it's like, I'm going to be honest, guys. I just spent about 15 minutes trying to explain what one of these things are, and they're really hard to explain. So I'm just going to hope that I can find a photo and show you. What you need to know is that they are a lot of fun, Used to play this game called It, which is basically when one person is it, and you need to run and touch someone else, and then they become it. So basically you're just chasing each other around. And a game like that was so fun here because like you just run down the slides, and like imagine having those sorts of chases when you're a kid and you go through these tunnels and stuff like that. Maybe you'll hide, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Damn, they need to make like an adult version of this, honestly. And this photo doesn't even do justice. Like, these places were absolutely massive. Anyway, if you're a teenager, let's say between the ages of 15 and 18, you and your mates will probably get drunk in a field somewhere from some cans of lager you've nicked off your dad, or from a bottle of incredibly cheap vodka you got from that one corner shop near the train station that doesn't check IDs. Probably. If you're a young adult, you will likely go and have your first experience of an underwhelming night out in your local club. And if you don't drink, then you'll probably just go to the cinema or go for a nice meal and just have a much happier and healthier life in general. Anyway, if you are neither a kid or a teenager or a young adult, and you are instead a fully functioning normal adult like most of the people watching this, you're likely to go for a nice meal. I'd say that's pretty common, or maybe go to a nice bar, maybe head down the pub. The point is, nothing too crazy. Like, you probably won't even tell that many people it's your birthday. You might not even tell anyone it's your birthday. Obviously, your close friends and your family members, hopefully they'll know, so there isn't really a need to tell any other people, maybe people you work with. The point is, we like to keep it low-key, for most of us anyway. But don't get me wrong. There are some people who, of course, like to have big parties. Maybe they'll rent out a bar or a pub, or maybe they will just invite some people over to their house. The point is, there's no one way for adults to celebrate their birthday in the UK. However, you can be sure that it does normally involve some alcohol, which is to be expected. Yeah. You will likely get a cake as well, and we do this thing where you get one candle for each year you are alive. So if you're 5, you get 5 candles. If you're 9, you get 9 candles. If you're 12, how many candles do you get? That's right, 12. Yeah, very good, yeah. But obviously, you see the problem, right? When you get to like 20 onwards, it gets a bit awkward trying to squeeze that many candles onto a Victoria sponge cake. So you need to cheat a little bit. So say if you're 30, you might say, well, this candle is an extra long one, so this is actually worth 10 years. And oh, this one's a little bit stumpier, so this one's worth 5 years. So we're going to put 2 of these on there, yeah? We're going to light them up. So enjoy your cake, mate. Enjoy your 58th birthday. And we've got 6 candles there for you. And trust me, that all adds up. Don't do the maths. That type of thing. Right. And of course, I've made a little section about the different cakes you can have, because this is very important. Right, this cake right here, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what this is. This kind of looks like a bit more of a wedding cake. I only included it so I can make the really funny joke about having all the candles on there. This is a Victoria sponge. This is my favorite thing in the world. It is absolutely delicious. By far my favorite cake, and that is saying something. This with a cup of tea is just ridiculous. Absolutely sensational, honestly. If you haven't tried a Victoria sponge, please just go out and do that, especially if you come to the UK. Anyway, we have a chocolate cake. This is, I mean, look how nice that looks. Oh, this is a carrot cake. So this is for the, the sophisticated ones out there, the ones with the refined taste buds. And this is really nice as well. I think these are some walnuts on top as well. Absolutely incredible. Now, we have included a couple of photos here. So this is kind of like a child's one, as you can probably tell. So it's got like this bright blue fluorescent icing that's, of course, very artificial. On the inside, it will just be like a Victoria sponge, but this back in the day was just sensational. It was so nice. Like the icing in particular was like all floppy and sugary and blue, and it was got you really like hyped up off the sugar. So you were like perfectly set to run around this indoor fun park that, as mentioned, I do kind of, oh, bloody hell, it was ages ago, that I do kind of miss, this off like a mouthful of that blue, sweet, sugary cake. You were absolutely rapid. You're like Usain Bolt. It was incredible. You're pretty much running up those slides. Anyway. Yeah, but obviously when you get past a certain age, you don't really crave this as much, and your taste buds become a bit more refined, and that's when you start asking for the Vicky sponges or the chocolate cakes, or dare I say the carrot cakes. Right, and I've included this photo here because this is kind of just an example of what we don't have in the UK. This is a very sickly, overkill, extra cake. It's absolutely massive, firstly, and then they have like this thick, like, I don't even know what that icing is. It looks like loads of little balls of sugar or something like that. Then this bow on top, which is just so extra as well. And then these sweets piling out of it. You really need sweets piling out of this cake. It's so extra. And this is, dare I say, definitely from America, not really the type of thing we have here. Another thing we don't have here, which I know they do in the US, is ice cream cake, which is, I've never actually tried this. It's ice cream in cake form. I was really close to trying it, but I didn't. There isn't really much of a story there. I was just at a party and they had some, but I didn't get it in time. But I am interested in trying that. Anyway, I'm getting distracted as per. But the point is, we don't really like to have all these extra sickly overkill cakes. I think we prefer something a bit more classy, sophisticated, like this one. Finally, you can normally expect to get some presents and birthday cards, but honestly, it does depend quite a lot on your social circle. Like, you actually need people to give you these cards and these presents, unless you're the type to go out and get some cards and write it with your left hand to yourself. But, you know, that's a bit weird. Sorry if you are the type to do that. But yeah, this depends on your social circle, as mentioned. By the way, we love a funny birthday card here. And as I was making this section, I actually identified the 5 different types of cards in the UK. So firstly, we have the boring cards, which are like happy 30th birthday or happy 12th birthday. You know, obviously we haven't included any of those. We have the insulting cards in true British fashion. So you are old, just as a little reminder. Or we have this, something like this, which is a comic, taking the piss out of old people. And you'd give this to someone who's old or maybe becoming older. And then you put in the card like, this is you, mate. We then have the punny cards, which includes a cute little pun on the front of it, normally with like a cartoon character. So here, well, how did the sushi greet the bee at their birthday party? Wasabi. Like, what's up, bee? Because you have wasabi with sushi. Yep. And another example is getting in the birthday spirit, because these are spirits, you know, types of alcohol. And this brings us perfectly onto the third type of card, alcohol-related cards. And yes, this deserves its own section because, you know, when it's your birthday, you have to drink alcohol, obviously. So like we have free gin. Now that I've got your attention, happy birthday. And a lot of these are to do with gin in particular. So it's quite common to see a card that says like, let the fun be gin, you know, begin. And they have all these different bottles of gin. Anyway, the fourth card is, what's the fourth card? Right, so the first was the boring one, the second was the insulting one, the third was the punny one, the fourth was the alcohol one, and then for the fifth one we have like the genuinely kind of funny ones, and these tend to be a little bit rude, a little bit naughty, but they're actually amusing. So yeah, these are the ones that I like. But I don't mind a cute pun as well. I think it depends who you get it from. You might want to receive one type of card from like your best mate, and then like a slightly different type of card from your grandma, for example. But yeah, in general, I'd say that most adults are fairly nonchalant about their birthdays here, but some people do prefer to celebrate it more than others. And guys, if you watch my advanced vocabulary video, you'd know that nonchalant means like cool, relaxed, kind of unbothered and unworried in a casual way. Question number 6. Are all big places closed on Sundays except in big cities? Thanks. Yeah, I'd say that people don't really tend to go out that much on Sundays, evenings in particular, because, you know, everyone they have work the next day, you know? So there's something about putting on clothes and getting ready and making plans to go out on a Sunday that just doesn't really feel right to me. I feel like it kind of goes against the culture. And this is especially true for Sunday evenings. Fair play, some people might want to go out for like a Sunday roast, but this would normally be at lunchtime or in the afternoon. You know, you don't go out on a Sunday night. You stay in, you get cozy, you cook some food or get a takeaway and watch TV or whatever. You know, you got work the next day, man. You can't be going out on a Sunday night. So I'd say it's pretty much going to be quite dead in any bar, restaurant or club that you do decide to go to. And in this instance, by the way, dead, it refers to a place being empty with no activity. You know, it's dead. And I put a little asterisk here because there are going to be some exceptions. Of course, there are going to be some like really popular bars or restaurants in big cities like London that are going to be pretty busy every night of the week. But I'd say the majority of these establishments in the UK are going to be considerably less busy than they would be on Friday or Saturday. Okay, so I'm standing by this statement. And yeah, we got another Simpsons gif. Honestly, I'm using so many of these gifs and photos that I might get sued actually. I might get copyright claimed. I should have added a disclaimer for this. Please don't do that if you're watching this. Anyway. This does also affect the opening hours of shops and supermarkets and pretty much everywhere else. So most big shops in the UK shut early on Sundays at about 4 p.m. This is an actual law, by the way. So on Sundays, by law, large shops cannot be open for longer than 6 hours, and they can't open before 10 a.m. and they have to shut at 6 p.m. Just so you know, large shops in this instance refers to the actual physical size of the shop, not how large the company is. So if it's over a certain size, then it's classified as a large shop. And guys, I've made another diagram for you, and this once again is my excuse for this video being a little bit late. This diagram took me like 3 days to make, honestly. Anyway, on Sundays, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, the big supermarkets, they cannot be open before 10 a.m. by law. They have to shut at 6 p.m. So if they're still open at 6:01 p.m., there's a problem there. Every customer and every employee will immediately be sent to prison. And between this period, obviously this is an 8-hour period, they can only be open for 6 hours maximum. So that means that they can open from 10 till 4, which is probably the most common. In the Lidl example I gave earlier, you can see Monday to Saturday 7 till 10 and Sunday 10 till 4. And how good is Lidl, by the way? I know this is quite an international shop, so you guys know what I'm talking about here. Do you prefer Lidl or Aldi? Let me know down below. Anyway, yeah, so I'd say 10 till 4 is probably the most common. I guess you could also go 11 till 5 or 12 till 6, but for me, 10 till 4 sounds about right. So, of course, that means, guys, if it is a Sunday and you are in the UK and it's coming up till 6 p.m. whilst you're watching this and you were planning on going to the supermarket and doing the big weekly shop afterwards, I've got some bad news for you. Yeah. However, there is an alternative, don't worry. Oh wait, we've missed a bit here, guys. Yeah, so this kind of shows the culture here. Sunday evenings are for chilling. By the way, if you are interested, I've got a really pointless fact for you. All large shops must shut on Easter Day and Christmas Day as well. So if you're watching this on Christmas Day or Easter Day and you're planning on going to the supermarket afterwards and doing the big weekly shop, then I've got some bad news for you guys. But there is an alternative, don't worry. Hey, we got it. We got the joke in. Right, small shops can be open whenever they want. There's no restrictions. Technically, they could be open for 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So for the observant ones of you out there, you will notice that Tesco and Sainsbury's look a bit familiar, and we have the smaller versions of these huge shops. So it's nothing to do with the actual size of the company. We do also have these independent stores or corner shops, which can do pretty much whatever the hell they want. I think this is the one that I actually got the vodka from. I didn't get it from, but I'm joking, guys. I don't know this shop, but anyway, the concept of everywhere being shut on Sundays is especially true for smaller or normal sized places in the UK, but it's a bit different in bigger cities like Manchester, London, or Edinburgh. So it will certainly be less busy on Sunday evenings wherever you go, but of course you have to bear in mind these places are quite touristy. And people on holiday don't really care what day or time it is. They're going to go out and have fun regardless. Question number 7. If you are fighting, never fall to the ground, boys. Okay, so we have some advice here. Not really a question, but it's all good. It's all good. I'll use this section to talk about fighting in the UK. This is, of course, a very valid topic, so thank you for this opportunity. So boys, as my lovely student just said, when you are fighting someone in the UK, never fall to the ground. This is because it's actually considered very impolite, and you are even at risk of offending the nice gentleman you are having a duel with. So if you do fall to the ground, just make sure to get up immediately, apologise profusely to your sparring partner before, going back to trying to punch each other. Just joking, guys, just joking. That funny, dry British wit. Don't worry, for most people, fights are very uncommon in the UK. The large majority of people here probably go their entire life without having to fight anyone, or without getting into any sort of real conflict, especially any physical conflict. To be honest, the only time you will really see adults fighting is outside a kebab shop at 3 a.m. when both of them are steaming drunk. And in these circumstances, you're going to want to avoid this, obviously. By all means, though, feel free to go in and grab your food, just sneak in round here, order your burger or your chips or your kebab, and then get that and just sneak back out. You should be alright. You should be alright. So even on a night out, you're pretty safe. No one's just going to randomly come up to you and start punching you. Don't worry. Getting invites can be very easily avoided, so as mentioned, it's not something you need to worry about. Now, of course, there are some parts of the UK that are rougher than others, but in general, well, it's like that in every country in the world, right? And I'd say that all things considered, the UK isn't really that much of a violent country. So if you just behave normally, it doesn't matter where you're from, you should be able to go your whole life without having to fight anyone. And by behave normally, I mean just don't do anything that's going to antagonize anyone or just make anyone want to fight you. Obviously, I know you wouldn't do that anyway, but yeah. Right, that is unless you want to get in a fight, in which case just start fights with people. And yeah, good luck, I guess. And yeah, we have another Simpsons gif. Let me just explain why I've included so many Simpsons related things. It's actually a big part of the UK culture, even though it's an American TV show. I think a lot of people in the UK grew up watching The Simpsons, and that's because on one of our main channels on TV, Channel 4, which is actually free to everyone as well, at 6 PM on the weekdays, they would always show an episode of The Simpsons, sometimes even two. So quite a lot of people my age especially would grow up watching this, so it's quite relevant in the UK, and that's why I have included so many photos and GIFs. Question number 8. Do you have several meal times in one day like this? And guys, I just need to explain this one to the Spotify people. So hi Spotify people, here we have 8 clocks and each clock is showing a different time and each time represents a different meal. So at 7 AM we have breakfast, at 10:30 AM we have brunch, at 11 we have 11s, at 12:30 we have lunch, at 4 PM we have tea, at 10 to 6 we have high tea, at 7:25, very specific, we have dinner, and finally at 10 PM we have supper. So I hope you have remembered all that because I won't be saying it again. Thank you. So do we have all these meals in one day? No, unfortunately not. I am going to make a full guide to the British food shortly, probably next week. So I'm just going to be giving a quick overview for now. But yeah, no one actually eats all these meals. Maybe back in the day when things were a bit more traditional, some posh, rich people would eat like this, but it's not that common nowadays. The reason I specified posh and rich is because, I mean, realistically, who has the time or money to be eating 8 meals a day? It's not really feasible, is it? Right, I think the majority of normal British people have breakfast, 11s, lunch and dinner, and I have put a little asterisk next to breakfast and 11s as there are a couple of caveats here. So let me explain. Breakfast normally happens between 7 and 8:30 AM. Now, the reason this has an asterisk is because you might be surprised by the amount of people that just skip breakfast, so just don't have it. And this might be because they don't have time in the morning, maybe they're not that hungry when they first wake up, or maybe they just can't be bothered and they're a bit lazy, or maybe a mix of all three. Now, this is especially true on weekdays when people have to get up for work and school, but I think it's safe to say that on the weekends, most people enjoy a nice breakfast. I hope so, anyway. Right, these are the things that people normally eat for breakfast in the UK. We have toast, cereal, porridge, bananas, or just fruit in general. Full English, of course, like a bacon bap or a sandwich. You can also get sausage, baps, or sandwiches. If you're vegan, there are vegan alternatives. The vegan sausages are actually quite nice, but vegan bacon I would avoid like the plague. And then we have tea and coffee. Now, I know I said that a lot of people skip breakfast, but I think the people that skip it, they'll still have like a tea or a coffee. So they'll have something, but something to drink and not to eat. Okay. Brunch normally happens between 10:30 and 11:30, and this is just a mix of breakfast and lunch. Now, as this time is when the majority of adults will be working, brunch isn't that common for most people. However, on the weekend, it can be a nice treat. So regularly having brunch on the weekdays is kind of like a luxury, not because it's especially expensive, it's kind of the same price as any other meal. It just shows that you have a lot of flexibility with your time. And that is a shame because brunch is so delicious. So we have Eggs Benedict here, which is like, it's one of my favorite meals actually. It's an English muffin. An English muffin is different from a regular muffin, which are, tend to be sweet and have like blueberry or chocolate in them. An English muffin is basically just a circular piece of toast. Then you have either bacon or smoked salmon, a couple of poached eggs, one on each slice, and Benedict sauce or hollandaise sauce. I did try and make this sauce about 5 years ago on my birthday, so I will try and remember the recipe. I believe it is egg yolk, which is the yellow part of the egg, butter, and lemon juice. I think it's just those 3 ingredients. Then again, it didn't work out that well, so maybe I have just messed up the recipe. Anyway, after that, we have smoked salmon on a bed of cream cheese and toast. Absolutely delicious. Avocado, crushed avocado, probably with some salt and pepper, maybe even a few chilies as well, and a full English. So I think there is a difference between a brunch full English and a breakfast full English. For me, a breakfast full English is probably more about size, whereas a brunch full English is probably a bit more focused on quality. Okay, but this one seems to be a perfect mix of the two. So obviously it's a massive portion, but it looks really high quality as well. So, it's good. So yeah, guys, brunch is when the avocado comes out to play, the smoked salmon, the hollandaise sauce, the poached eggs. These things you don't really see that commonly in meals in the UK. So that's why I think that brunch is so nice. Right then, to confirm, brunch is not that common on the weekdays unless you are a rich business person or a university student wasting your load on a bit of salmon, an oat milk latte and an Instagram story, but on the weekend it is fairly common. And guys, I made this Instagram story up just for this video. I know. Feel free to pause that and enjoy it. Anyway, we do also have something called bottomless brunch, which I have covered before. And this is basically brunch mixed with 2 hours of all you can drink. Yeah, and this is definitely common on weekends. Right then, 11s normally happens between 10 and 12 p.m. So yeah, not at 11 on the dot. And this has kind of become like the working person's brunch. So you can't go out for brunch, so you just have 11s instead. And it normally consists of snacks these days and things that are basically easy to carry with you and eat on the go or whilst you are at your desk working. So these are going to be things like cereal bars, baby bells, which are like pretty much little wheels of cheese. These sun bites, which are kind of like healthy crisps. These ones in particular, and this flavor is really good. Snacker Jacks, which are rice cakes and yogurt as well. So if you go to any office in the UK, someone will be eating one of these things at about 11 a.m. I'm pretty sure of that. Right, lunch. This normally happens between 12 and 2 p.m. I think everyone has lunch, to be honest, unless you are incredibly busy. And the type of things we eat, obviously we have a meal deal, which I've covered before. Basically, it's like a combo meal that you get from any supermarket. You get a main, normally a sandwich. You get a side, which is like a chocolate bar or a packet of crisps. And you get a drink, which is either water or pretty much any sugary soft drink you can think of. So yeah, there is quite a wide selection of drinks here. And this is an example of a meal deal. We have salad if you're feeling a bit healthy. We have tomato soup or any type of soup for the winter. And we have pastries. This is a sausage roll from Greggs, which is very popular. Once again, vegan options available. I got you vegans, I got you. And then we have pasta as well. We love a bit of pasta here. Now this is a pesto pasta, which is why it's green, because we love pesto as well. Although I'd say it's most common to have like a tomato based sauce, or maybe just like a lump of butter melting into the pasta. That's very low prep and easy to make and pretty delicious as well. Right then, afternoon tea happens at 4 p.m. So if you're under the age of 70, I'd say it's fairly uncommon to have this regularly, but it is a nice treat regardless. So in this instance, tea or afternoon tea, it's actually a meal. So it's more than just like a cup of tea. Obviously tea is part of it, but it comes with all this other stuff as well. So we have like an egg and cress sandwich. We have some prawns on a bed of cucumber and some fancy looking bread. Now then, this looks like a Victoria sponge, but it's not really the right shape, is it? So it may just be like a sandwich form of Victoria sponge, which would just be like jam and cream cheese. Yeah. This is very posh though, and probably a Southern English thing. The reason I say that is because the South and the North have different names for all of these meals. So for me, from the South, I would call the first meal of the day breakfast, the middle meal lunch, and the final meal dinner. Whereas someone from the North would call the first meal of the day, breakfast, so we agree on that. They would say dinner for the middle meal and tea or supper for the final meal. So where I would say lunch, they would say dinner. Where I would say dinner, they would say tea or supper. Now, I have included a photo here that shows the most common ways of referring to the final meal of the day, depending on whereabouts in the country you are from. So, as you can see in the south, pretty much everyone is calling it dinner, and in the north, pretty much everyone is calling it tea. Wales seems to be tea, and Scotland probably just didn't want to get involved, which is fair enough. I will explain in more detail in the food video. Right then, high tea apparently happens at 5:50 p.m. No, I don't know what this is. Dinner normally happens at 6 till 8 p.m. Now I should change that to 6:30 because you know what happens at 6, guys. It's time to watch The Simpsons. Right, I'd say once again, pretty much everyone eats dinner, and these are the type of things we typically eat. So pasta, the tomato-based sauce, as mentioned, jacket potatoes, bangers and mash, or sausages and mashed potato, obviously. Salmon with some new potatoes and some green stuff as well. We have like a beef casserole. I know you guys do also have this in Turkey as well, so you know what I'm talking about. But this is really good for the winter. And of course, beans on toast. I would be remiss if I didn't mention beans on toast. Okay, if you do have an office job as well, it's not uncommon to opt for a liquid dinner instead, which is basically just like 4 to 6 pints of beer. No food required. And I have done this a few times, by the way, and yeah, you feel absolutely amazing the next day. I promise you. Right, finally, we have supper at 10 p.m. apparently. And now this is too late. Next question. Question number 9. What are best places to visit during autumn, or foods that are typically eaten during autumn? I find autumn particularly beautiful. Sorry for rambling, but you said not to be shy. Thank you for your content. It helps me a lot. Firstly, thank you very much. I'm glad that you enjoy the content. Secondly, if you didn't know, this person likes autumn. And autumn is a season that starts on the 1st of September and ends on the 30th of November. So guess what, guys? At the time of posting this video, we are right in the middle of autumn. And I've got another diagram for you. So autumn is September, October, November. Winter, December, January, February. Spring, March, April, May. And summer, the elusive summer, is June, July, and August. Anyway, here's all you need to know about autumn in the UK. Number 1, it will start getting cold, and this is especially true for October and November. Now, I have got some exact temperatures here just to give you an idea of how cold we're talking. Although you need to bear in mind, these do depend on your location in the UK. The south tends to be less cold. I wouldn't say warmer than the north, just less cold. And of course, during the nighttime, it's going to be colder than during the day. And in terms of the month, the closer you get to winter, so December, the colder it's going to be as well. So September, you can expect temperatures of about 9 to 25 degrees. Yeah, it genuinely is quite hot sometimes in September. October, you're looking at about 5 to 15 degrees. November, about 3 to 10 degrees. And December, 0 to 8 degrees. So obviously December is winter, but it gives an idea of the trajectory. Okay. So yeah, 3 degrees on a November morning is pretty rough, not gonna lie. Right, number 2, the leaves on the trees will turn into a beautiful amber colour. And I think this is one of the best things about the UK, not just the fact that our trees become golden once a year, but just the amount of trees and the nature in the UK in general is like absolutely amazing. And it's something that I'm really grateful for. And if you come here, just make sure to experience that. We kind of have these parks everywhere in the UK, like they're really common and they're like massive as well, normally quite luscious too. So if you come here, you shouldn't have a problem finding somewhere nice to go for a walk. Right, so yeah, during autumn, our trees become golden, which is kind of nice. You might even get a few crunches as well. And crunches, I'm referring to these leaves that you get where they're really dry from the summer and they've kind of curled up, which means there's a bit of air there. And they're basically just really crunchy. And when you stand on them, it makes a really satisfying like sound. Like I'm hoping to find like a crunch sound effect. I'm going to look a bit silly if I can't, but yeah. And also, they smell really nice. There's something about the autumn air that just smells really nice and wholesome. I'm not talking about the leaves in particular. I don't just go out and pick a leaf up and then smell it and then go and crunch on it. I stopped doing that ages ago. But there's just something about autumn that creates a really nice scent in the air. Yeah. Right, number 3, it will start getting dark earlier. Once again, this does depend on your location in the UK and the time of the month. But August, it will get dark about 8 to 9 p.m. And of course, that is summer. September, about 7 to 7:30 p.m. October, 4:45 to 6:30 p.m. And if you're wondering why there's been such a big jump here from 7:30 to 4:45, 6:30, it's because in October we go back an hour. So this is technically 5:45, but yeah, it goes to 4:45. November, 4 p.m. till 4:30 p.m., which is crazy dark at 4 p.m. That's mental. And December, 3:45 till 4 p.m. And December and November, at school, it was always quite weird. I don't know, I just always thought it was quite weird coming out at the end of school when it was just like pitch black. It felt a bit strange, but I kind of liked it though, to be honest. But yeah, it will start getting dark pretty early in autumn. So what do British people do in autumn? Now, I'm going to be honest here. My first thought was not a lot. Autumn isn't really that big of a deal here. So I Googled it, try and get a second opinion, make sure I'm not missing out on anything. I saw some things about a borough market in London or museum exhibitions, but honestly, that felt a bit forced. I don't think anyone is actually like, oh wow, finally it's autumn. Let's go to this one specific borough market in London and buy some overpriced jam. Then on the way home, we can go to this brilliant autumnal exhibition at this one museum that I've been waiting all year to go to. Oh, you're excited for Christmas? You idiot. There's nothing going on at Christmas. It's all about autumn, mate. Now come with me and have this slice of toast with this £18 jam I got from this London borough market. And then we'll go to this museum. No one's doing that. No one's doing that. If you didn't already know, I don't know what a borough market is, by the way. But I'm just assuming it's kind of like a market where they sell overpriced jam. Right, so autumn is a very normal time in the UK. What do British people eat and drink in autumn? Well, once again, we don't really have that many seasonal foods here, but I know you are a big autumn enthusiast, so I'm going to try my hardest, all right? I want to give you something. So, it's cold in autumn, as mentioned, especially at night, and it starts getting dark earlier as well, so you have all of that to look forward to. So, you're going to want to find a nice pub in the evening and enjoy some nice, warm food. So, this is a nice pub. They've got a fire here. It looks very cozy. Bangers and mash, perfect for autumn. Pie and mash, perfect for autumn. Basically anything that's hot and salty is going to be nice. And this is an ale. So this is different to a lager or a normal beer that you're probably used to in your country. Or if you come to the UK, you're probably going to have a normal beer. But ale is, well, firstly, it's not fizzy. It's not a fizzy drink like lager or beer is. It's typically served at room temperature as well, so it's not cold like beer normally is, and the flavors are a lot stronger and a lot more bold, and they have different types of flavors as well. So you know how lager pretty much all taste the same, and it's all cold and fizzy. With ale, there's a lot more variety, I would say, and it's better for winter as well, because if it's freezing cold outside, you don't really want to be inside drink a cold pint. That's better for summer. So I think that ale is perfect for autumn and winter. And these are really nice, by the way. The problem is, though, they are very drinkable because it's just room temperature and not fizzy, which means it's very easy just to get it down in one if you wanted to. And, you step into the local pub for a nice quiet pint, and before you know it, you've had 7 ales and you're getting shouted at for urinating on the side of the wall. That type of thing. Anyway, things to do. I'd say just enjoy the beautiful trees, go for a walk in the park, step on some crunchy leaves. The air tends to be quite crisp, so a little bit nippy, but in a nice way. And as mentioned, there is a very wholesome smell in the air. In terms of places to visit, it depends on what you want to do, but considering I've recommended cozy pubs and nature, don't be afraid to avoid the big cities. There isn't really going to be many autumn vibes in London or Manchester. If I'm honest, there isn't really a tree in sight in Manchester, and that's only a little bit of an exaggeration. For the record, I like Manchester. I've spent a bit of time there. I think it's a nice place to live. I know it does have a huge international community as well. I bet some of you are probably living in Manchester. It's a nice place, and there's a lot to do there, but it's a very grey place. The weather itself is normally very grey and dull. It's kind of like a concrete jungle in Manchester. There's like these massive buildings everywhere, like these factories and stuff like that. So it is a cool place, but I think in autumn you might be missing out a little bit if you decide to stay in Manchester. I think it's going to be slightly depressing there. It's going to be cold and dark and greyer than usual. And the same thing for London as well, but at least London does have a few parks and stuff like that you can go to. So, listen, I'm going to make a full video on different parts of the UK, and that's why I have kind of avoided this topic. So, subscribe if you want to see that. But in general, for autumn, don't be afraid to avoid the big cities. Just try and find somewhere that has some nice wildlife, some nice pubs, maybe some smaller towns in the UK. And I will give you some recommendations now. So places like the Cotswolds would be nice, Lake District, Wiltshire, Oxford, Devon, Snowdonia. Look at that house, crazy. And the Scottish Highland, like that looks all right, doesn't it? Now those are just random suggestions. Pretty much anywhere with nature and pubs, you'll be absolutely fine, which thankfully in the UK is quite a lot of different places. Question number 10. Why do so many people who visit England have to go to the London Eye? Good question. I think it's due to the fact it's so closely associated with London and therefore England. So whenever you see something to do with Britain, they will often use this London Eye as branding because it is quite a famous landmark. So if you go to a tourist shop and you want to get a mug or a pencil case or maybe like a key ring or maybe a t-shirt, you will probably see this big wheel on it because, people associate it with England. And therefore, when you visit London, which, let's face it, if you're coming to the UK, you probably will, and rightfully so, you may feel kind of obliged to go to the London Eye, even if you don't really want to. It kind of feels like a missed opportunity otherwise, and if you don't go, then you might get something called FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. And FOMO is quite a common term here and just in the West in general. You may have your own version in your language as well. But FOMO is basically when you go to a social event or you do something, not because you particularly want to do that thing, but because you're scared, you have a fear that if you don't go, then you might miss out on something cool or fun or interesting, You have a fear of missing out. So, for instance, say you've visited London and then you go back to your country. What is the first thing that your friends are going to ask? Let's have a look. So they might start by saying something like, do they actually say bottle of water? It's a valid question, okay? Then they'll say something like, so what are their teeth like? Okay, yeah, I guess that's a valid question. Then they'll say something like, is the food really that bad? Okay? Then afterwards they'll say, is it true that everyone just sits about and drinks tea all day? Yeah, they probably will say that. But then, after asking all those questions, they're probably going to say something like, so, did you visit the London Eye then? And if you say no, they'll probably look at you like this and say, oh, why, you didn't go to the London Eye? Really? Did you even go to London? Really? Who doesn't go to the London Eye when they go to London? That type of thing. And in comes the FOMO, the fear of missing out. So I think that's a reason why a lot of people visit the London Eye. Kind of due to external pressures. But then again, maybe they do just want to go and I'm just being pessimistic and British. I mean, I guess it is kind of cool and it's a good way to get a bird's eye view of London. And a bird's eye view is like the view from the top of something. If you were wondering, by the way, I don't think I've ever been to the London Eye myself and I don't think I'm alone in saying that. A lot of British people probably haven't visited here either. And before you say, what? You've never been to the London Eye? I thought you were British. What's going on? I bet there are famous landmarks in your city or your country that you also have not visited. So, look yourself in the mirror before you judge me. All right, mate. So what is it? What country do you live in? What city do you live in? And what landmark are you yet to visit? Because I promise you, there'll be something there. And then when a tourist comes to your city and they say, oh, so what's this like? And you have to look at them and say, oh, I don't actually know. I've never actually been there. And they say, what? You've never been to this place? And the whole cycle just goes over and over and over again. And I don't blame you, by the way, because obviously I've done the exact same thing with the London Eye. It's one of those things, I feel like when there is a famous landmark in your country, you're maybe less likely to visit it because you kind of already know your own culture, so there's less of a need to see it. And subconsciously, you may be like, oh, well, I live here anyway, so I can just go whenever, It's not really that big of a deal. And that's kind of the mindset I have, I think, as well. So just so you know, the London Eye isn't actually unique as well. Like every small town and city and their dog has their own spin-off versions of the London Eye. For example, we have the Skegness Eye, the Weston-super-Mare Eye, the Blackpool Eye, the Plymouth Eye. And trust me, respectfully, judging by these photos, these are not places that anyone needs to be getting a better view of, bird's eye view or not. Well, that is unless you are trying to scout out where the closest train station is so you can get the hell out of there. Question number 11, which is actually the final question. So thank you so much for all of you who are still watching. And of course, a massive thank you for those who submitted a question. If there's anything else you'd like me to answer, just send me a message on Instagram at BritishEducation_. Anyway, question 11. If you want to warn a person about something in good faith, like, excuse me, you left your bag open, or sorry, your skirt is so up, is it rude? Okay, firstly, yeah, I wouldn't say to anyone, sorry, your skirt is so up, because it may be a stylistic choice, and even if it isn't, it might be a bit offensive. And some people here, just so you know, are quite revealing with the clothes they wear, so I would definitely bear that in mind. So to conclude, if it's to do with someone's physical appearance, unless you are close to them, you're probably best off just being like Kermit here, drinking your tea and saying, that is none of my business. Just don't say anything. That is unless you are friends with them, in which case, yeah, fair game. You can do that. Of course you can. They're your friend. Secondly, excuse me, you left your bag open. Now, I'd say this type of thing is absolutely fine. Unless the person looks scary or unpleasant, maybe not. But for 90% of the people here, you can, of course, give them information that will actually be beneficial to them. But bear in mind, you don't need to feel obliged to do this. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. But if you would like to warn someone about something, by all means, go ahead. No one is going to be offended. So you could definitely say something like, excuse me, you dropped this, or excuse me, I think your bag is open, and no one's going to have a problem with that. They'll probably say cheers or thank you and then, close their bag. All thanks to you. So just make sure to say excuse me first, because that is, of course, very important. Right, guys, and there we have it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed today's video. This is quite a long one, so if you've made it this far, I do genuinely really appreciate that. So as mentioned, all of the useful words and expressions that popped up on the screen will be included in a free PDF. The link is in the top comment and there is no sign up required. All I ask in return is that if you did enjoy today's video, I don't know guys, why not consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on post notifications, and maybe even commenting down below. It all makes a massive difference. Why not consider signing up to my free newsletter as well? And as mentioned, every Tuesday I will send you a funny, short English lesson about my life. And as soon as you sign up, you also get an exclusive bonus video sent right to your inbox. And it's actually a good video as well. I do also teach private one-to-one lessons. Sometimes they're in stock, sometimes they're not. If they are in stock, you can just purchase them. And all of the links are in the top comment. If you would like to stay in touch, I would recommend following my Instagram, which is BritishEducation_, or my Spotify, where all of my videos are posted and you can listen on the go. That is just British Education. And once again, guys, the links are in the top comment. We know. Right, I do have a few of these different guides. Last week, I did a full guide to dating in the UK. Before that, it was a general guide to the UK. So I have made a playlist for you to look at. It should appear somewhere here, I reckon. So somewhere in this sort of direction, there will be a playlist, and probably about here, it will be telling you to subscribe. So you may as well do that as well. So as mentioned, I post new videos every single Friday. So hopefully I will see you guys there. Thank you again so much for watching. And until next time, cheers.